What do we see today? Just Ian and me.
Yesterday,
Yesterday,
I watched Pickle, American Pickle.
American Pickle, the hit film starring Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen.
Dude, when it was him again, I lost my shit.
So going into it, did you know anything about the movie?
I knew the title. That's it.
You didn't know anything about?
I never heard anything about it. I didn't know it was coming out. I didn't know it was being made. Nothing.
Well, yeah, I was kind of blindsided by it too, but I saw the trailer, and that gave me the premise that Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen are in it. So I really did enjoy that aspect.
Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it going in. So I was like, all right, here we go. Time to watch a movie.
What did we think?
I think the beginning was awful.
Oh, yeah?
The movie opens so poorly. I actually didn't have any hope for it.
You mean like the aspect ratio change with the small?
No, that didn't bother me. The way it starts, it's like the narration's fine until a certain point, and I'll talk about that in a second. But what happens is when the bad guys come right after they get married, they kill everyone else but the main characters.
See, I thought that was comedy.
That's not funny.
I thought it was pretty funny because like they're slaughtering everyone and they just stand there and then the blood and then it reverse cuts and there's no one. And I thought that was like a logic leap on purpose for comedy.
Logic leap on purpose. It didn't land with me personally.
Okay.
I was like, okay, but if they kill everybody because of their race, they should just kill everybody.
Right, but that's not as funny.
And the only other thing that really bothered me was, you remember when he fell into the pickle vat?
Yep.
How did they not see that?
Because
There were three dudes right there.
Again, I think that's the same exact reason. I think like because as soon as he falls, the guy's like, "Oh, we're shut down," and 5 seconds flat, everyone's out and it's abandoned.
It was,
you know what I mean? Like,
the little logic leaps like that, I don't think they were earned at the beginning of the movie.
See, I think they worked for me pretty hard.
Those didn't work for me.
Because they know that they make no sense, but they're going with it, you know, out of like, I don't know.
After that point, I felt like the narration should have stopped as well once we get into the real time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it works for the preface of the movie, and that didn't bother me very much.
Yep.
But once he like gets to the doctor's office, and it's like, the doctor presented me with great news, and then the doctor goes, I have great news, and I'm like, yeah, I just fucking heard that. That's the point where I feel like the movie should have just started without the narration.
Fair, but I would say the narration is minimal after that point.
No, it's very minimal after that point.
Um,
There's like maybe a couple more minutes, but I felt like just a little of the beginning.
What I thought would
needed
get
to
you is when it went to the same factory and it showed the passage of
Yeah,
time.
Brooklyn 100 years. That did bother me.
It said Brooklyn 100 years later, and then the drone flies up, which is only from this time period, so that has to be 100 years later.
Yep. That also did bother me.
I saw that. I was thinking to myself, like, oh my god, Ian's gonna fucking hate this scene.
Also, that's not how drones work. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Drones do not work like that.
Not at all. But
other than
CGI does.
Other than the beginning of the movie being very, very, very logic leaping and just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the movie is actually really fucking funny and
It is.
entertaining.
I love the premise. I think they played it to like maximum comedic effect.
Oh, 100%.
I loved how they highlighted how annoyingly petty the main character was. The young guy, not
Yeah,
the...
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben and Herschel.
Herschel, yeah.
Yep.
They really highlight how like annoying and actually kind of toxic Ben can be at some points. He's trying to sabotage his great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Or great-great-grandfather.
Well, his great-great-grandfather unintentionally sabotaged him.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's like, oh, I got to get back at him for an accident that he doesn't understand.
And then, like, everything that he throws at Herschel just retools into being a success.
Except the last thing.
Except the last thing.
It got progressively funnier every single time.
I agree.
Like, when he was like the rainwater and the pickles, and it's like, all right, that's pretty good. And he's like making the little things, calls the board of health. Then they talk to him about the interns, and he's like, they're unpaid workers that you give experience. So like slaves. I wouldn't go like that. And then he goes,
and then it zooms in with the music.
It zooms in and he goes, and he like rubs his hands and shit. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
It only
awesome.
progressively gets like more entertaining as the time goes on. He does that. He does the Twitter thing, which by the way, fucking hilarious.
It's just a calm place where people can share their honest opinions and not be judged.
Yeah, you want to be as unfiltered as possible. I was like, oh no.
And then he gets hit again when he asks the
Christianity question.
Yes, that's like the best part when he
his
prefaces
mother was
it.
she was prostitute.
Well, I liked like
Yeah.
the what was really stand out about that was when he like the writers clearly knew what would happen, so he was like, "Well, I'm sure what I'm going to say is going to cause no controversy whatsoever, so I'm just going to say it flat out." Like, that
Dude,
hit
that
me.
was so funny.
That hit
There's
me.
a lot of really, really good jokes in this movie
Yeah,
that landed really well. Some of them not so much, like I mentioned at the beginning,
I
and a
agree.
couple throughout.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think it's just very, very funny.
I
And I
wanted.
like the political commentary. There's the political commentary of like the Twitter thing with
Mm-hmm.
free speech and hate speech and stuff that I think is really interesting.
Yep. I really wanted this to be on like my top 10 of the year list.
It's
It
not,
did
yeah.
not
I
quite
think
crack it.
it falls just short.
Just short. Top 20, I'd put it on there. But hopefully, other movies come out at all this year. So we'll
Uh,
find out, won't we? This might be the last movie.
yeah, I think it just falls a little bit short because I really like the interaction between Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen. I
I
think they're both of the characters that he plays are interesting, have a great dynamic,
and you know what else
and
too?
like they learn from what goes on throughout the movie. Even though it is that's why I think it's a good movie. Is we've talked about comedy before, but one of the things that gets me is like if the characters don't learn anything, it's just straight up a comedy. There's like actual like arc and character development here that I really think is important.
And you know what goes in this movie favor as well would be the fact that it's just 90 minutes. I feel like if it was
Yeah,
like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it starts to lose that comedic edge.
I agree. Yeah.
So it keeps it up the whole way through.
Because you can't have Herschel just not understanding anything for 2 hours.
Yep.
And granted, he does learn and he does.
He gets, yeah, like I'd say like towards the end of the movie, he starts to really understand modern culture.
Partially understand modern
Mostly.
culture. Yeah,
I mean, he bought the billboard. You can't do that without, some knowledge of how things work.
that's true.
So
But he did have the team working with him at the time, so they
Mhm.
could help him.
I
do
think this
that.
is a fantastic movie. It's one of Seth Rogen's best performances, I feel.
I'd have to think about that. I think he's really good.
I mean,
in a
most
lot
of the
stuff he does.
mostly the stuff he does is just like stoner.
I don't think he laughed enough in this movie. I'm gonna have to give it to 0.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
kind of like that there's no Seth Rogen.
No, I
laugh in
love
this.
Seth Rogen's laugh. It's so good. That's one of my favorite things about him.
I like
It's just
the
so
themes
nice.
that it was asking about, like old culture versus new, as far as like what a working class person would be and what they should quote unquote do, depending on
Yeah.
what they're doing. And I like the reveal at the end that Boop Bop was about his family.
Yes, that's what really, really. He's like, I thought you didn't care about your family. And then I found this, and it's like boop bop.
Mhm.
Because what in the video, I noticed the graduation video. He's just like, I don't know, name it mom and dad. He did.
Yeah, you did. That was the best part.
Like that's why I was like, oh my god, that's fantastic. I think that is like the defining good feeling, like character moment of the movie.
A lot of comedies don't have that heartfelt hit, like they
That's
need
true.
it. Otherwise, it's a collection of funny scenes,
Yeah, I agree. That's why Palm Springs did that earlier this year. I thought that movie
Yes.
was very well done as well.
Can't wait to talk about Palm Springs at the end of the year.
Oh, me too.
But out of 10, what are you thinking for American
I was
Pickle?
thinking like 7,
I was thinking
above average,
probably 8.
not fantastic. I 8 goes into like great territory for me.
Well, let me tell you my personal bias. I have not seen a new fucking movie in months. Okay, I'm happy that one came out at all. I'm used to seeing one a week.
Yeah,
So
the last movie I watched was Palm Springs before this.
I can't express to you enough how excited I was while getting this movie and preparing to watch it. Just like make some food in my microwave real quick, run to my freaking bed, put on my pajamas, sit down, watch a movie.
Yep,
Like
I
that
opened up-
experience I haven't had in so long.
I opened up a bag of Cape Cod salt and vinegar chips and
You're right. The
the
correct
whole
option.
time. Damn right.
You can't do that in a theater.
No, I can. It'd just be really loud.
But yeah. So yeah, we're overall really
Yeah,
happy.
the acting from Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen. That's what got me, man.
Yeah.
The double Seth Rogen. Like the second, it's like, oh, your grandson. I'm like, oh, what's
Did
his
you
grandson
notice?
gonna look like? It's
Did you
just like-
notice that Seth Rogen's business boss man was played by a certain Lonely Island alum?
Yeah, Yorma Tacone.
Norman Tacone himself.
I lost it. I was like, is that Yorma Tacone?
Fucking love you.
My guy.
Yes, absolutely.
Love the Lonely Island guys. Everything they touch turns to gold.
And they touched this, so
Perfect.
can't go wrong.
A masterpiece. Except
Anything
it's
else
just like a 7 out of
to
10.
wonderfully add to this good movie?
No, not really. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Started off slow, ended off fantastic.